The government is seeking to block extremist online chat forums during terror events to prevent the live streaming of violent attacks. In the wake of the Christchurch massacre, Scott Morrison is seeking to target notorious websites such as 4chan and 8chan by giving telecommunication providers the power to restrict access to the sites. A crisis centre would work with the E-Safety Commissioner to assess content spread online during an attack and alert the industry. The Minister for Cyber Safety, Paul Fletcher, addressed the media a short time ago about the reforms. Let's take a listen.
Well, the Morrison government is announcing today that we're taking action to protect Australians against abhorrent violent material and extreme terrorist content online. After the appalling Christchurch attacks, the video that was made by the perpetrator while he was in the course of murdering over 50 people and attacking over 100 people, that video was circulating on the internet and hosted on a number of websites around the world. Australia's leading internet service providers voluntarily took the decision to block access to that video because of the abhorrent violent material that it contained, and they did the right thing, and the government congratulates them for doing so. But the task force that the government convened after the Christchurch attacks recommended that we needed to take stronger action, and I can announce today that the E-Safety Commissioner in coming weeks will be issuing a formal legal direction under Section 582 of the Telecommunications Act to Australia's internet service providers, giving them the necessary legal authorisation and support to maintain that block on websites hosting the video of the Christchurch attack. The E-Safety Commissioner is also developing a protocol with the industry, internet service providers and online social media platforms, which will govern how the Australian government will respond should a similar episode occur in the future and there be similarly abhorrent violent material and extreme terrorist content accessible on the internet. In addition, the Australian Government's Crisis Coordination Centre will be monitoring for the prevalence of such material, and where aware of it, will be notifying the E-Safety Commissioner so that she can consider whether to exercise her powers. The Morrison government is determined to keep Australians safe online, and we're also determined to ensure that terrorists and those advocating and supporting extreme violence are not able to use the internet to publicise or win support for their causes. That's why we'll be taking this action in coming weeks. The Morrison government is determined to keep Australians safe online.
Okay, so which websites could be blocked in a crisis event?
I don't want to be naming individual websites, not least because I don't want to be giving them any publicity, but I want to make it clear there's a very high threshold before this power is used. It has to meet the standard of being abhorrent violent material or extreme terrorist content. Now, I think most Australians would agree that a video taken by somebody in the course of murdering over 50 people and then circulated online by him meets the test of abhorrent violent material. Ultimately, this will be a judgment to be made by the E-Safety Commissioner. That's an independent statutory office, and she will exercise her judgment consistent with her mission of keeping Australians safe online.
So how long would they be blocked for?
Well, that'll be an operational decision to be made by the E-Safety Commissioner, and it'll be reflected in the terms of the specific direction to be made by the E-Safety Commissioner under Section 582 of the Telecommunications Act.
Well, just to clarify, how does this work in practice? As you said, the providers did block access to that video at that time. Say they want to do that again, how does this law actually help them at all?
The decision that the government is taking here is consistent with a recommendation in the task force which was established by government following the Christchurch attacks, and that task force had as members of it representatives of Australia's leading internet service providers, major digital platforms, major social media platforms, as well as a range of government agencies. And one of the recommendations that came forth, which we are acting upon, is that there should be a formal legal direction to the internet service providers, first of all, in relation to the Christchurch attack, to make sure that that material can lawfully stay blocked, but secondly, that there should be a protocol governing similar episodes should they occur in the future. We certainly hope they do not, but we need to be prepared if they do. So this recommendation of the task force is what government is implementing, and it reflects what's been agreed in a consultative fashion with the major internet service providers. It is their view that it is desirable, should such blocking be necessary, that it be done on the basis of a direction from the Australian government. The Australian government shares that view. We're determined to keep Australians safe online. The Australian government shares that view. We're determined to keep Australians safe online, and we have assigned this responsibility to the E-Safety Commissioner, and she will, in coming weeks, issue a formal direction using her powers under Section 582 of the Telecommunications Act.
So that will apply actually already in practice to the Christchurch massacre material?
It will provide important legal support for the actions that the internet service providers voluntarily and entirely correctly and appropriately took in relation to the Christchurch attack video. It will provide an ongoing basis on which access to that video by Australians can be blocked, and there will also be this protocol developed by the E-Safety Commissioner setting out how, should a similar episode occur in the future, industry would deal with it, working with her in her role as E-Safety Commissioner. We hope that no such episode ever happens again, but we need to be prepared in case it does.
Will the measure require legislation as well?
This measure does not require legislation. It's a direction to be issued by the E-Safety Commissioner under existing legislation, the Telecommunications Act. That being said, the task force also recommended that government should consider legislation to put in place these arrangements in a legislative form for the long term, and we're continuing to consider that recommendation, but we're not waiting. We're moving forward to get this direction in place so that the legal basis is absolutely clear, and so Australians are protected. When you're online, you're not going to be seeing the Christchurch video, because if an attempt is made to enter the domain name server of a website which hosts that video, which is on the particular list, then instead you'll be directed to a landing page which will simply notify you that access to that website has been blocked.
What would be the repercussions of a server or a website that got around that block somehow? That would fines or criminal action? Or
what I'd say is that we're satisfied that this measure will provide practical protection for the great majority of Australians, and it will very dramatically reduce the capacity of the perpetrator of the Christchurch attacks to gain publicity for his horrible actions. And so this will be a practical measure which will be, in our judgment, very effective, and so that's why we're taking it forward.
Labor supports the move but says there could be some risk of what it's called e-martyrdom, that some people almost like the idea of being banned. Like you said, you wouldn't name the websites. How do you counter that?
Well, the first thing we do is precisely what we're doing, which is establish a clear legal instrument which has the effect of supporting Australian internet service providers in blocking access to this abhorrent violent material and extreme terrorist content. The second thing we do is make very clear the Australian government's intentions and our determination to keep Australians safe online. That's what we're focused on, and that will be the guiding principle in the action we're taking and announcing today, and in all of our actions in relation to the issue of online safety.